In the heart of the Australian outback, where the red earth meets dense eucalyptus forests, there exists a legend whispered among locals, the yowie. Said to be a towering ape-like creature with deep-set eyes and a thick coat of dark fur, the yowie is a mystery even to the most seasoned bushman. But for young Ellie, it was the beginning of an unforgettable adventure. Ellie was a spirited 12-year-old girl living in a small town just on the edge of the outback. Her grandfather, an old bush tracker, used to tell her stories of the yowie, how it roamed the vast wilderness, never staying in one place for too long. Most people dismissed the tales as mere folklore, but Ellie's curiosity always burned bright. She wanted to find the yowie, or at least see some proof that it was real. One evening after a long, hot day, Ellie decided to venture deeper into the forest than she ever had before. The golden sun began to set, casting long shadows through the trees. As she wandered, she spotted something strange, a series of enormous footprints in the dirt. They were unlike anything she'd ever seen, too large for a human but distinctly shaped like a foot. Her heart raced. Could this be the yowie her grandfather always spoke of? Without hesitation, Ellie followed the tracks. They led her deeper into the woods, past gum trees and rocky outcrops, to a hidden clearing where the air seemed heavier, the sounds of wildlife quieter. In the center of the clearing stood a figure, tall, imposing, and unlike any creature Ellie had ever encountered. The yowie. Its fur was matted, and its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. But to Ellie's surprise, the creature didn't seem hostile. It watched her with a calm, almost curious expression. Taking a deep breath, Ellie reached into her backpack and pulled out a small tin of her grandmother's famous damper biscuits. She held one out, hoping the yowie would take it as a peace offering. The yowie stepped closer, its giant hand reaching out slowly. With a gentleness that belied its size, it took the biscuit from Ellie's hand, sniffed it, and then ate it in a single bite. Ellie smiled, and for a moment they stood there, two beings from different worlds, sharing a simple connection in the vast outback. As the last light of day faded, the yowie turned and disappeared into the shadows of the forest, leaving behind only the faint rustling of leaves. Ellie stood in the clearing, filled with wonder. She knew she had witnessed something extraordinary, a moment that no one else would ever believe. From that day forward, Ellie returned to the forest often, leaving small offerings of food. And though she never saw the yowie again, she always found fresh footprints, reminding her that some legends are more than just stories. They're a part of the land itself, hidden from view but always watching. In the frozen heart of the Himalayas, where snowstorms raged and the peaks kissed the heavens, there lived a creature whose existence was known only through whispers, the Yeti. For centuries it was a myth, a tale passed among mountaineers, Sherpas, and explorers seeking to conquer the world's highest mountains. But in those icy realms, hidden deep in the snow, the Yeti was real, a solitary guardian of the sacred peaks. Cheering, a young Sherpa, had heard these stories all his life. His father, an experienced guide, had always warned him, "Respect the mountain, and the mountain will protect you. But should you stray where you are not meant to go, the guardian will come." Driven by curiosity and the desire to prove himself, Tsering led a group of wealthy explorers on an expedition up an unexplored route of Everest. Despite his father's warnings, they sought a fabled hidden pass, said to offer a shortcut to the summit, though few believed it existed. But as they ascended into the thin air, strange things began to happen. Unexplained tracks appeared in the snow, and at night, distant roars echoed through the valleys. The explorers laughed it off as wind, but Tsering felt something watching them, something ancient and powerful. On the fifth day, they reached the pass. It was real, a narrow gap between towering cliffs, but it was not empty. Standing in their path, like a living part of the mountain itself, was the Yeti. It towered over them, its white fur blending into the snowstorm, its eyes glowing with a fierce intelligence. The explorers froze in terror, but Tsering felt awe. One of the explorers, driven by greed or madness, raised his weapon. Before he could fire, the Yeti let out a deafening roar that shook the very ground. An avalanche followed, thundering down the mountainside. The snow consumed everything, burying the explorers. Tsering was thrown to the ground, but miraculously survived. When the snow settled, the Yeti was gone. Searing knew the creature had spared him, not out of mercy, but because he had respected the mountain and its guardian. He descended alone, carrying the weight of the tale he would never tell. The Yeti's secret would remain safe, hidden in the snow forever. The dense ancient forest of the Pacific Northwest was alive with whispers, tales of something lurking just beyond the reach of human eyes. Among the towering pines and moss-covered stones, a presence stirred, older than memory itself. They called it Bigfoot. Eli, a seasoned wildlife photographer, had always been skeptical of such stories. After a decade of photographing the rarest creatures on Earth, he believed nothing could surprise him. But on a crisp autumn morning, he ventured deep into the wilderness, chasing rumors and folklore for one last adventure. Armed with his camera and a notebook filled with sightings, he set out to prove that Bigfoot was nothing more than a myth. The forest welcomed him with silence, only broken by the occasional rustle of leaves or distant calls of birds. Hours turned into days, and still, there was nothing but endless trees and the echo of his own footsteps. Then, on the fourth day, as the sun sank behind the mountains, something changed. The air grew heavy, charged with a strange energy, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. That night, by the dim light of his campfire, Eli heard a low guttural sound, unlike anything he had ever encountered. He froze, the hairs on the back of his neck standing up. Slowly, he rose to his feet, camera in hand, and stepped into the darkness. The sound came again, closer this time. His heart pounded in his chest, but curiosity outweighed fear. He followed the noise through the trees, stumbling over roots and rocks, until he reached a small clearing bathed in the pale glow of the moon. And there, standing at the edge of the clearing, was a figure, massive and hulking. Its fur gleamed silver under the moonlight. Eli's breath caught in his throat. It was real Bigfoot, its dark, intelligent eyes locked onto his, and for a moment, the world stood still. Time seemed to stretch as they regarded one another, two beings from different worlds, both curious, both cautious. Eli raised his camera, but before he could snap a photo, the creature turned and vanished into the forest, leaving nothing but the soft rustling of leaves in its wake. Eli stood there, stunned, knowing that no one would ever believe him. But he didn't care. In that brief encounter, he had seen something beyond the realm of myth, something ancient, elusive, and profoundly alive. The forest remained silent once more, and Eli knew that somewhere deep within its shadows, Bigfoot was watching, waiting, just out of reach. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this.